Welcome to the Lonely Catchup. Today I'm joined by Shaun. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, mate. Recording a wee bit later than normal, so it seems a bit strange, but yeah, I'm not bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, brilliant, bud. We are recording Monday night instead of the Sunday sort of afternoon or morning usually. Start off, there's a few talking points this week, Shaun. Obviously, Bonnyrigg, Rose and Kelty Hearts never played. Did you see the Kelty Hearts statement at all?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was it was a strange one to come out of Kelty. Obviously, a bit frustrated because they don't want their team to be sitting idle and they don't want their fans to be without a game, but completely understand where Bonnyrigg are coming from as well. So yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. It was definitely strange to see it transpire on Twitter as well, but I suppose visibility is always a good thing when you can see what's going on, and it's just a wee bit of passion, a wee bit of friendly competition, both wanting to play. I saw a little bit of back and forth between some fans and players as well, which I thought was quite good.
For me, I saw the statement a wee bit later in the day because I think it was like afternoon. I saw it like at night time, and then I sort of realised what they had said. For me, it was a wee bit of a shocker, but I don't think there's any right or wrong. I know for a fact, because we were asked on the catch-up Twitter, like, is there going to be a game for Kelty? Is there going to be a game for Bonnyrigg? So certainly the clubs would have been getting that too. It's fair point from Kelty. I think where they might have sort of added a wee bit of fuel to the fire, if you will, is when they basically stated that Bonnyrigg, rejected the game, if you will. But and I think I said this to you and Mozza. I don't ever remember a game being brought forward in the Lowland League. They tend to be sort of held back till later. Bonnyrigg, I think the way it was worded from Kelty, it was kind of like we don't have a game due to Bonnyrigg, but it really had nothing to do with Bonnyrigg, really. I mean, they were out the Scottish Cup, and that's why they weren't playing at the weekend. But I quite like that. In some respects, it promotes the next Kelty Bonnyrigg Rose game quite well. A wee bit of rivalry there with statements like that, isn't it?
No, absolutely, and I'm this. I like going and catching a football game on a Saturday as well, but I'm quite fond of a Tuesday night game. So I think a Tuesday night under the lights in New Dundas Park, with potentially the two teams at the top of the league, I think it's still going to be an exciting fixture and one I'm looking forward to anyway.
I think from a Kelty point of view, it gives the players a wee bit of a advantage because from appearances it's like, well, Bonnyrigg don't want to play us, so it could be a bit of a mental battle there going, a wee bit of a wee bit of psychological warfare there. Maybe I'm reading too far into it, but certainly the statement in itself, I wouldn't have mentioned Bonnyrigg in there. I don't think they had to do that, but I think there was reasons why they did. But when I first saw the statement, I was like, here we go. Right, moving on. There was a few shockers on social media, and we'll move on to our first Lowland League game, Spartans versus Easterlandshire at Ainsley Park. This was on Friday night. Shire won 3-1. It was a bit of a fiery game, to be honest. Spartans did take the lead in 15 minutes. It was a long-range free kick from Spartans. Barclay saves, then spills the ball into his net with no Spartans player within 10 yards. So a bit of a tough one for Jamie Barclay there. Shire did have a lot of chances. I noticed the return of Andy Rogers back from suspension was pretty much doing bits for them, and they did get the equaliser on the 27th minute. It was a fantastic free kick from Nicky Lowe as he chips the wall for Rogers to run onto it and finish. Pretty decent work free kick to make it 1-1. There was, as I mentioned, there was a bit of a fiery aspect to this game, obviously, and Shire's Twitter highlight of the first half was Andy Rogers shouting across the park to the ref to give the whistle to Bolo. I quite like that one from Shire. It wouldn't be the last sort of fiery tweet that if you guys noticed, obviously, but second half goal for Shire. Dishington, the man, returns to Ainsley Park and the Spartans. He runs the halfway line and slots home high into the net. Great vision from Mark Miller and great finish from Dish to make it 2-1 Shire. And it was a third for Shire. Goal by Nicky Lowe, slotted through by Brown, and he rounds the keeper to make it 3. There was more aftermath after the game, more yellow cards for Spartans, and Lee Roy Makarova earned a second yellow and gets his second sending off for Spartans this season. A real fiery one, but we kind of alluded to it, Shaun. Obviously the tweet aimed at former Spartans player Jamie Dishington. What were your thoughts on that? Obviously, it was a wee bit of a dig, I guess. A Kelty get it plenty. I'm sure Shire have heard it as well. Something obviously about a way to sort of count his money, if you will. What were your thoughts on that tweet there, mate?
Do you know what? I thought it was just a little bit of fun. I can understand why it was up and down pretty quickly, because it's one of those that maybe was a little bit borderline, but all in, I think it was quite harmless, and it was quite funny. I think there's no hard feelings between Spartans and Shire. Jamie Dishington's gone there for the same reasons that a lot of us would move around. Had some great time at Spartans. He's away to Shire. There's no denying that money played a factor in that one. But yeah, as far as the tweet goes, I thought it was quite funny. Just a bit of fun, a bit of banter, I suppose. Spartans' usual Twitter guy was away, so I'm not sure if whoever took the reins for this one was a little bit unsure of where that line was, and that's maybe why it went down straight away. But do you know what? I think if it had gone up before, it probably would have stayed up.
Yeah, I thought it was quite funny too. I mean, given the history of Dish since he moved to Shire, he has been getting a lot of stick from the boys. I think it's all in good fun, but certainly coming from like the club's official Twitter account or whatever, it didn't look too good. You know what I mean? There's banter. Obviously, it's kind of like a wee bit of a jokey thing, but obviously Shire are not going to appreciate it as well. Their fans won't if they're not in on the joke, if you will. You know what I mean? So.
Perhaps, but I think sometimes I think you're quite right. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's one of the advantages to following the Lowland League is perhaps to some of the higher up leagues where they're a bit more cautious about what is said. I think some of the Twitter accounts in the Lowland League are fantastic to watch, just for that banter that goes back and forward that you don't really see maybe the higher up you go. So it's one of the reasons I really like following the Lowland League. But yeah, I think you've got a point. You've got to keep on the right side of that line, don't you?
Yeah, I mean it's probably ironic for some people, me mentioning controversial tweets, because I've had a few myself over the time of doing the Lowland League. So swiftly moving on to Civil Service Strollers versus Caledonian Braves, and it was at Christy Gillis Park, and you're going to cover this one for us, Shaun.
This was a really good match-up in the Lowland League. Only 1 point was separating the two sides ahead of the game. It took 15 minutes for the home side to take the lead through a Cammy Muirhead perfectly placed header into the far side of the net, gave Civil the 1-0 advantage. It was still 1-0 at half time. Cali Braves Twitter putting out there they were a little disappointed not to be level with the chances that were created. Ross McNeil was inches away from getting Cali back into the game just before half time, but it remained 1-0 at the half. And it was on the 69th minute that it was Cammy Muirhead again who bagged a brace after some terrific play from Shanley to make it Civil 2, Cali 0. 75th minute, Ross McNeil did find the back of the net, but the goal was disallowed with the offside flag being raised. On the 80th minute, quite an interesting one here, the Cali physio was booked. Did a little bit of digging, I couldn't find exactly what had happened there, but yeah, definitely a bit of an interesting booking there. And then in stoppage time, it was a red card for the home side, as well as a chance for Cammy Muirhead, where he was a bit unlucky not to grab the hat-trick after a burst through the middle from Andy Mayer through to Cammy Muirhead, and he just grazed the outside of the post, and that was the difference there between a hat-trick and a brace, I suppose. So yeah, after that one, I think Civil, they've opened the gap. There's 4 points separating Civil Service Strollers and the Cali Braves in 5th and 6th spot respectively, so a really important win for Civil at home there.
I did read the report obviously, and I think Cali Braves were a wee bit unlucky considering they have been pretty much a goal threat. I just don't think it was their day, but you can't take anything away from Civil Service Strollers at home at Christy Gillis Park against the Cali Braves side that I was a wee bit worried that they could possibly outscore them, because Civil, it tends to be the 2 or 3 as I've mentioned when they get the wins, and they've done fantastically well there. Same guys, Cammy Muirhead obviously getting a brace, Ryan Shanley, he did get sent off towards the end of the game, which is a wee bit disappointing because he'll be suspended. They'll miss him because he's been fantastic on loan from Hibs. Craig Newell, who's been brilliant as well, he was obviously on our team of the month that we we chose for the Civil player. So just on the physio, actually, I should have mentioned this, the Shire Spartans match, but yeah, we need to shout out Shaun Tate off East Stirlingshire as well. The third time this season that she's basically replaced a dislocation on a shoulder, a Shire player's shoulder. Willie Dyer was the man at this point, so that's a bit of a record there for Shauna. I don't know if anyone's taken any bets how many she'll get this season, but in terms of the result though, Cali Braves, they'll be disappointed obviously because they are similar sort of teams in terms of quality, but Gary Jordan, as we all know, is doing a fantastic job for the guys that he has at Strollers. The guys there are doing fantastic, and I'm interested to see if they can maybe make that top four. I think it's going to be difficult, but it's between them and Cali. Considering Spartans aren't doing that great, EK are struggling a wee bit, I think it could be interesting if one of these teams can sort of get up to that spot in top four this season.
Yeah, Civil Service, we always saw them as a bit of an underdogs, outperforming, and you can't write them off. I think they are right up there with your East Stirlingshire and BSC, fighting for a space in the top, sort of three, I suppose, not even fourth. It's close, and I think Cali are going to be there or thereabouts as well. They've got consistency issues, I think, that they've had from back when they went under the head of EduSport, that they really need to get to the bottom. Strengthening their back line, I think, and not conceding as many goals is a biggie for them, because they've got some goal scorers in the likes of Ross McNeil. Yeah, two really good sides they're doing a superb job to be battling so far up the table after, last year we spoke about Civil, like I say, it's an underdog type of side, and they performed really well. And Cali Braves, they were mid-table last season, and they've came on leaps and bounds this year, and still got consistency issues, but they're winning more than they're losing, obviously, to be right up there.
And we'll move on to Catchup Game of the Week, which was Berwick Rangers versus Dalbeattie Star. Pretty decent one this. Berwick, obviously, they looked quite positive that they were going to get a result. I think the feeling before this game was that they were going in as favourites. Dalbeattie Star had a really good away record coming into Shielfield Park and into this one. Berwick Rangers did win. They won 3-0. It was their first home win of the season in the league. Star looked a wee bit short on numbers, I think. I think even the gaffer, Richie Maxwell, made the bench. Ryan Gibson made his first starting goals with Vinnie Parker absent. He had played the previous 11 league fixtures, so a wee bit of a change there, obviously, in one of the key positions. It did start, there was a wee bit of a disagreement, or a few scraps, if you will. There was an incident where it been recorded that a Berwick Rangers player got a Star player in a headlock and threw him to the ground and held him there right in front of the ref. There wasn't a booking, so that kind of tells you how the game was going a wee bit. It could have been a bit scrappy. There was an actual injury in the half hour mark. I didn't catch what Dalbeattie player it was, but there was a Dalbeattie player that had to go off as well. And Berwick Rangers making the most of it off the added time just before half time. Ali Foster gave them the lead, so it was 1-0 Berwick at half time. And just out on the blocks, a minute into the second half, Daniel Purvis made it 2-0. 7 minutes later, Yal Baldi made it 3 following a great move, and that was pretty much the win for Berwick there. I've kind of criticised Berwick in a lot in spells because I felt they lost games in spells. Now it seems like they've turned it around and opposite. They're actually taking or certainly in this game, they've taken the advantage before and just after half time, and that's something that they had struggled with for other teams. So that's a really good sign for Berwick Rangers fans, and a fantastic win over in fairness, I guess a depleted Dalbeattie Star team, but also a win's a win. You can't take anything away from Berwick there.
We want to see everybody in the Lowland League do well, and it's a bit hard for that to happen because they're playing against each other week in, week out. But Berwick have been one of those teams that they've had a pretty rapid fall from grace, getting relegated last season, and they didn't have the best start to the season, but they seem to be picking up a bit of momentum now. Even if you look a bit further back in their fixtures, they only lost by the one to Kelty, they only lost by the 1 goal to East Kilbride, so you can see that the team is getting stronger. The expectations this season aren't going to be brilliant. It's going to be to rebuild and get ready for perhaps a couple of seasons in the Lowland League, I would imagine, but they're moving in the right direction, and that's the main thing. And for Dalbeattie, a team that I think they've done very well at the start of this season in a competitive league, I don't think their heads will go down too much after this. It was away from home against a Berwick side that, like I say, they're getting stronger. So No, overall I think a really good result, for Berwick there, because they needed to get this sort of convincing win, and they need to now build on that in the next couple of weeks, because they've got a tough run of games coming up against Cali Spartans and BSC, those teams that are up at the top end of the table. So we're going to kind of see just how good they are getting, see how the improvements are going, because those are some tough games there coming up for those guys. But yeah, I think really strong win for them.
A wee bit disappointing for Dalbeattie Star, because they had moved up to 11th. They're still in 11th, but we'll have to wait and see how they sort of, you talked about Berwick there in their next few fixtures. I think Dalbeattie Star will be looking at their next few fixtures, and hopefully they can sort of pick up again. We don't know. Sometimes, obviously, we don't know what if like so Vinnie Parker was absent. I don't know if it was an injury or he's maybe just missed the day, but certainly they did look short. But as I said, you can't take anything away from Berwick Rangers. That's a solid win over Dalbeattie there.
Next up, we've got Gretna 2008, who were welcoming Vale Leithen. And in this one, Gretna started off bottom of the Lowland League, Vale Leithen second bottom, so another close tie. And it was Ryan Rogers who scored the first goal for Gretna on the 26th minute. And on the 79th minute, Ryan Rogers with the assist, and this time Kevin Conley, who made it 2-0 to Gretna at home. Another noteworthy point was on the 80th minute, substituted on was Maku Knight, who was red carded in stoppage time, so really short spell there for him there. So that's Gretna leapfrogging Edinburgh University and Vale Leithen up to 14th spot, and Ryan Rogers there with 9 starts this season and 5 goals. It's possible that Gretna have found a bit of firepower there to help them move off the foot of the table after a bit of a ropey start. But yeah, two teams they're definitely going to be there or thereabouts in the relegation battle this season, going head to head. And yeah, Gretna doing what they needed to do, and I imagine Vale are going to be bitterly disappointed that they're not taking something away from this game, and in turn they're now sitting at the foot of the table, which is not where they want to be.
All reports, I don't think it was the easiest on the eyes. It was two teams battling, trying to get the result there, and obviously Gretna, massive congratulations to Chris Humphrey, John Foley, and the boys at Gretna there for their first Lowland League win. Massive for Gretna, really. I did fancy Gretna a wee bit more in this game, especially being at home. It was similar to Berwick. We kind of mentioned it last week, myself and Derek. But it was similar. I think the result was coming for Gretna, the result was coming for Berwick, and I wasn't overly shocked to see them get the win there. But it changes the momentum a wee bit for Berwick, for Gretna as well, because the first one was the important one, and again, you've said it, Shaun. They've leapfrogged up to 14th, while Vale Leithen now pretty much struggling with Edinburgh Uni at the bottom.
I think one thing we have to mention before we move on as well, it was sad to hear the passing of Ron McGregor at Gretna. He passed away peacefully on Monday of last week. From everybody here at the Catchup, we want to just pass our thoughts on to everybody there. Ron, brilliant servant to Gretna as secretary and chairman, so yeah, really sad news coming out of Gretna there. Not to put a downer on the podcast, but definitely worth a mention.
We'll move on to Cumbernauld Colts versus a team we've just mentioned, Edinburgh University, Broadwood Stadium. Colts won 4-1. They took the lead within pretty much the minute mark. Lewis Bonner heads in from Richard Kerwin's cross. 21 minutes in, Craig Holmes finishes from another Richard Kerwin assist, and on the 33-minute mark, Craig Holmes got his brace, and Cumbernauld Colts third with another what has been described as another phenomenal goal. He obviously won the Scottish Cup first round goal. He's known to do it, Craig. Going into the second half, on the 54th-minute mark, Scott Davidson rises highest and nods home a Craig Holmes corner. So everyone getting on the act there a wee bit for Cumbernauld Colts. 15 minutes to go, Edinburgh did pull one back. Unfortunately, I didn't happen to catch who scored the goal. It was one of those ones where we kind of expected Cumbernauld Colts to kind of bounce back. It was their first win, I think, in 5 league games, so it was much needed, but against a struggling Edinburgh Uni team, who have had to travel to Broadwood Stadium. It was a game that I kind of sort of expected Colts to go out there, but fair play to them winning 4-1, especially considering that they've been struggling a wee bit lately themselves.
Convincing win that they sort of needed, and they've obviously gone out with that intent, because it's not taking them long. It's just over the half-hour mark and they're already 3-0 up. So they've gone out with a bit of a purpose and they've done well there. Craig Bohm's obviously having a phenomenal game, getting in on 2 goals and an assist in this one as well. So something for Cumbernauld to build on, I think. And for Edinburgh Uni, it was always going to be a tough away fixture for those guys. They're going to be wanting to pick up points, but it's not probably going to come against some of these bigger teams in the bigger stadiums. They're going to be looking to those matches at home and the matches towards the foot of the table. But yeah, a really a much needed win, I suppose, for Cumbernauld that gives them a little bit momentum, if you like, and they move up the table a little bit as well, which is always that's a positive in any league. Next up, Kilby welcoming the University of Stirling to K Park, and this one, 2 sides that, do you know what, they're a lot more evenly matched this season than perhaps last year, and it took 54 minutes for us to see the first goal, and it was Stirling that started the second half really well, and on that 54th minute Hall won the ball on the halfway line. A series of excellent passes followed before Hall once again found himself with the ball 20 yards from goal. He played in Craig Brown, who from just outside the penalty area powered a left-footed shot low and into the bottom right hand corner of the net. So that was all that was to be said about that game. It was 1-0 to University Stirling, an away fixture at K Park, and one that they're going to be thrilled with. Yeah, Kilby, it's another tough game at home. Before we move on, we've obviously got the interview with Chris Geddes.
Well, Chris, always good to get a win on the road, and especially against one of the big boys. You must be delighted with the performance today.
Yep. Obviously, to come to the champions of last year and a team with the experience and the quality of player that's in their dressing room, yeah, delighted. 3 points is great.
First half, there were a few hairy moments. They had quite a few chances, EK, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, they had a few opportunities for corners. They had one. We cleared the ball off the line twice in the first half. But apart from that, it was a quite even half, I thought. There was no goalies were really making saves. Kev never actually had a proper save to make in the game. But yeah, they had 2 cleared off the line, and if they go in, the game's probably going to be different. But thankfully for us, they didn't.
So what did you say to the players at half-time? Were you happy at that stage?
Yeah, we were delighted. Just tell them to believe, do you know what I mean? Because they're good enough players, and I've said this to you before, that as long as they believe that they can beat them, because for me, East Kilbride were there for the taking, and we showed that. So I just told them to believe in themselves a bit and believe that they could beat the players that are out on that park, and don't think about the name of the club, think about who you're playing against, and they showed that second half.
Early in the second half, you got your noses in front. Great goal from Craig Brown.
Yep. We've obviously been working a bit on shooting with Craig and with a few of the movements of the players up there, and we've kept the ball really well. We've went right to left, got a throw in. We've came from the left to the right, and then it's went to Kieran, and he's laid Craig, and he's cut inside, and he's put one in the bottom corner by a goalie. And to beat a goalie of that quality with a strike from the edge of the box has got to be good as well. So delighted with that.
And then after that, it was all about game management, and the players really did dig in and produced a fantastic, organised performance.
Yeah, definitely. For all the pressure East Kilbride were putting on us, crosses into the box, I thought our defenders dealt with that massively. We had a few players playing out of position today, but I thought they won their first headers, they won their second, and again, Kev never had a save to make. So that's credit to our defence, our young defenders, that he never had a save to make, especially with the quality of player that East Kilbride have got.
And it sounds like celebrations in the dressing room there.
Yeah, it's one of the boys' 21st birthdays today, so the boys will go and enjoy this one, and then we'll be back preparing for Loughborough on Wednesday.
Excellent, thank you, Chris.
Thanks, David.
So as always, want to thank those guys for putting that together. So yeah, a bit of a frustrating one there for Kilby. We obviously got the news that Alan Martin was moving on as well. So yeah, a bit of turmoil at K Park, and we've even had some of the players obviously coming out and saying that they've been frustrated with the performances and they've just not been good enough.
I feel a wee bit sorry of University of Stirling on this one, because they've came away with a fantastic result. Craig Brown, obviously a fantastic player for University of Stirling, and the guys have just done a fantastic team performance there against the reigning champions, if you will. But the talking point really is East Kilbride. It's difficult. We kind of talked about this, all three of us gave our thoughts on it. I think the league has gone for them now, personally. we have to be realistic. They've not been great at home. 3 of the 4 losses have been at K Park. It's a bit like Spartans in a sense, obviously. They used to be so reliable at home. Spartans are now struggling at Ainsley Park. East Kilbride now at K Park. Port's hyping up Kieran McGrath of Celtic, one of the younger boys on loan. I don't think putting pressure on a teenager on loan from Celtic, and I know he's a decent player, but you can't put that much pressure on one player. As much as you can criticise maybe Mal, the players have to really take responsibility as well, and I think Shaun Winter done that. I did see his tweet obviously saying, we've not been good enough, it's time to sort of look at next season, rebuild, hopefully we can do something in the Scottish Cup. I personally think they've came in this season with a wee bit of a hangover. I thought last season was their best chance to get out this league. Teams like Kelty, East Stirlingshire, I don't like to talk about budgets, but you saw it a wee bit earlier, a few months ago. Tam Scobie, obviously, it looked like he was signing for East Kilbride. He's now at Kelty because he would have been just what they needed in the heart of the defence. We've said that they've not replaced David Proctor or Craig Howie, in fairness, at the back. In terms of firepower, I just don't understand the logic. Payton's been one of their top scorers. I think he's like pretty much equal with Craig Malcolm. Have they scored enough? Probably not. Try and pin their hopes on Kieran McGrath. I know he's scored 2 in the Scottish Cup, but he's a teenager. He's a young guy. I think some of the players coming in there, like Ray Payton, guys like that, the players that were there last season had this hangover, right? Maybe the belief's gone a wee bit that we can actually get out this league, because as much as it's great winning a league title, the real incentive for a lot of these teams is to get out the league, go into league football. I think the belief had went a wee bit there, and then you've got these players coming in, a few of them quite young, obviously, and they're expecting to be in basically a side that dominated last season, and it's just not the same. It's not what it was like. They've lost a wee bit of the fear factor. The atmosphere at K Park, certainly when I was there for the Berwick Rangers game, it was nothing like it was last season. There's a vibe about the team right now. You mentioned obviously Alan Martin. We don't know exactly what's went on there. I think he, from what I've heard, is he didn't obviously like being dropped for the 2 cup games. Matt McGinley's obviously a quality keeper. He proved that last season. It's a bit of a cluster, isn't it, really, with East Kilbride. And as I mentioned, I'm a wee bit sorry for University of Stirling, because it's been a fantastic win for them. But East Kilbride is certainly the talking point this week, I would say.
It's a frustrating season for East Kilbride. It's one that they're going to have to spend, I suppose, the remainder of the season. There's still, 2/3 of the season to go. Just finding their identity a little bit again, because they've lost that. For the last 4 or 5 years, they've played from a position of power where they've been the team, don't really have to prove anything, because they're winning week in, week out, whereas now there's a lot of eyes on them that it's time for them to step up and prove, and that's a lot of pressure for a team when they're trying to find their way. And yeah, University of Stirling, they're sitting 10th in a league that's never been as competitive as it is this season. It's outstanding, and I'm really looking forward next week. We'll cover off the fixtures for next week, but they play Bonnyrigg, and that's a really exciting fixture. More exciting than I maybe would have thought at the beginning of the season, but this is a team that, on their day, they seem to be able to go out and beat anybody. They've had a fantastic start to the season, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that one. Brilliant start for Chris Geddes and the boys.
Going back to East Kilbride, just before we move on, mate, I think it's interesting that you've got guys, they're looking at management. Malks is his job under threat, all this sort of stuff. Why isn't people saying the same about Dougie Samuel at Spartans? Because it's literally, if you look, 2 top teams, both won the league twice. East Kilbride, Spartans, both had their chances of getting out of the league. Realistically, if you're going with the same standards at East Kilbride, then it should be similar with Spartans, you would think, anyway.
Wait, before you talk about a manager moving on, you've always got to sort of think, is there somebody who can come in and do it better? Fresh pair of eyes is always really good to see, but I think, especially at this level, both Dougie Samuel and Stuart Malcolm they're fantastic. They've got great minds. They're able to win over their teams. Dougie Samuel, even when they're not winning, the way that Spartans play, the structure to their game, I think is still the best in the league. They're just missing that final touch, and the league got more competitive, and they've lost Dishington. They had a tough pre-season, and same at East Kilbride. Stuart Malcolm, they're very different managers, I think, but they're 2 really good managers. And do I think there's somebody who's going to be able to step in and do a better job? I'm not so sure, so that's something I think you've always got to consider.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was aiming at too, Shaun, is the fact that I don't think at this moment there is a person to come in East Kilbride or Spartans that could do a better job than these two. Could they do better? I've said last week I think Spartans should be doing better. I think East Kilbride with the team, still a strong team. I know they've had issues here and there, maybe mentality. They've maybe not as improved as much as some people that their fans and that would have liked, but they're still strong teams in this league. And in fairness, they should be doing better. But I just don't think another manager. We said it with Vale leaving as well with Chris Anderson. I don't think there's managers that will come in and do a better job than they're doing already. I think it's just perhaps circumstance, perhaps they've lost their fear factor a wee bit, both teams. And it's interesting that Spartans are struggling at Ainsley Park and East Kilbride are struggling at K Park. Teams are now going there wanting to win, and we've seen it so far this season. Moving on to the Scottish Cup, Gala Fairydean Rovers versus Formartine United. Gala unfortunately got beat. They will exit the second round, similar to a lot of the Lowland League teams. The Netherdale, Formartine did make the trip down. I was quite impressed with them. They got replay basically. It wasn't until the second half that the goal scoring started. It was the 61st minute when Formartine took the lead with Gary Wood. 6 minutes later, on the 67th, Jake Campbell equalised for Gala, but it wasn't to be. On the 74th minute, Scott Lyle scored to give Formartine United the win. I did see the highlights. I was probably a wee bit disappointed considering how much space he had at the edge of the box, but Formartine, we obviously know that they're a decent side. A wee bit gutted for Gala that they never got through to the third round. Formartine will play East Kilbride at home in the next round.
Bit gutted for Gala. I think if you go up against a team that's perhaps got the edge on you as far as how they're performing, to go and play them away and be able to force a replay, and then at home, especially somewhere like the Netherdale, not be able to pick up the win. Frustrating. I'm sure the team and the fans are going to be bitterly disappointed with it as well. But one other replay took place on Sunday, and it was BSE Glasgow drew with Lochee United in the initial second round tie, so forced a replay back at the end of drill. New signing Jordan Norcroft making his start, another unknown signing from the partnership with St Johnstone coming into the squad there. And it was on the 29th minute that a BSE corner was cleared away by the Lochee back line. Dave Mackey, however, was there just outside the box to hit a fantastic strike that somehow evaded the sea of yellow and blue and broke a deadlock. It went into half-time at 1-0, and then on the 54th minute it was Jamie Hamilton that went on a terrific run, cutting through at least 3 defenders and sending Gary Kenneth on his holidays, according to Twitter, before slotting a perfect low strike into the bottom corner. Lochee were able to pull a consolation goal back, and this came in the form of a penalty just 5 minutes from time. Declan Hughes clearing the ball out of the box just as an on-rushing player went down, which was deemed a foul, and Logan Davey stepped up for Lochee and was able to send Ryan Marshall the wrong way. Final score 2-1 to BSC, and they set themselves up a away day at East Fife in the third round of the Scottish Cup.
Well, we obviously want to congratulate Pennycook Athletic and Broxburn for getting through to the third round. Fantastic achievement. I was really chuffed with obviously the Pennycook result. They play Partick. Moving on to the weekend's fixtures, we'll start with the 2 o'clock kickoff at Victoria Park. It's Vale Leaving versus Civil Service Strollers. I think this is only going to go one way based on form, and I think I'm going to give it to the Strollers.
Vale have got to do a bit more to get them even edging towards pulling a draw even at home. It's a tough road game for them, but Civil, yeah, they've been superb this season so far, and Vale have struggled. It's a no-brainer, I think, Civil to win that one.
Moving on to the 3 o'clock fixtures, we'll start with Bonnyrigg Rose back in action from their Scottish Cup win over Buckie Thistle. They're against a tougher looking University of Stirling side. That could be a potential game of the week at New Dundas Park, because University of Stirling, they've done well against the top teams, as we've noticed. They've done fairly well for a half against Kelty. They obviously beat EK recently. I'm still going to have to give it to Bonnyrigg, especially being at home.
Yeah, I think I have to give the edge to Bonnyrigg. Do you know what? If University of Stirling go there and either take a draw or pinch the win, I don't think I'm going to be particularly surprised. It's definitely my game of the week.
BSC Glasgow versus Gretna 2008 at the end of the drill. I'll probably go with BSC Glasgow. Gretna coming off their first league win. I just don't see this them getting their second at the weekend there against BSC.
No, I'd second that. So, I think we're agreeing on all 3 games so far, but yeah, I think BSC at the end of the drill, they're a team that do what they need to do year in, year out, and I think that it'll be no different on Saturday.
Dalbeattie Star versus Spartans at the Islecroft. Spartans, obviously we've mentioned that they're a wee bit lacklustre at home off late. Away's a wee bit of a different situation, but due to that, I'm not sure about Star's numbers or their injuries or that, but I would have to say Spartans on paper are probably the better team, and I would give them the advantage. In fact, I can't even say that because I said that I would never give another prediction for a Spartans game this season, so scratch all of what I said there.
I suppose the only prediction in this one then, I think I'm going to go for a draw. I think a bit of a troubling Spartan side going down to Islecroft. If Dalbeattie are able to score a goal or 2 in this one, I think it'll be enough for them to at least steal a point and build on what was been a pretty decent start to the season for them.
East Kilbride versus Kelty Hearts at K Park. Mentioned obviously home struggles for East Kilbride. I think Kelty will be another team that will go there. We talked about they've lost the fear factor. I think Kelty will be right up for that game, obviously wanting to keep their top spot with Bonnyrigg playing at home against University of Stirling. I'm going to have to give it to Kelty Hearts.
Yeah, I think I'd agree there. I think Kelty are certainly a team that I suppose they can be a bit unforgiving at times, and there was a couple of games against East Kilbride last year where East Kilbride just absolutely dominated, and it's not a position that Kelty like to be in, and I think that that's still going to be fresh in their mind even if it is a completely new season. Going to K Park, I think they're going to be quite passionate about a win in that one.
Yeah, a lot of pride for East Kilbride in that game as well. I'm certain they will have a reaction after the Stirling Uni game, but I just think Kelty Hearts have the momentum going into that one. East Stirlingshire versus Cumbernauld Colts at the Falkirk Stadium. I don't know if you noticed it, mate. We mentioned we're recording on the Monday. Cumbernauld Colts put out a tweet. I'll let them describe this. Shire have only lost once in the last 5 games. Colts have won once in the last 5. Great positivity coming from the Cumbernauld Colts Twitter team there. I think they could have worded that a wee bit differently, but just based on that, you've got to say East Stirlingshire are going to win that. But big pitch at Falkirk Stadium. Cumbernauld Colts like big pitches. I think it could be an interesting one, but Shire really have to go out and get the 3 points if they want to still be in contention of the title, I would say.
There's a lot of teams in this league, and Cumbernauld Colts aren't going to be the first pick that Shire would want to go against because they are a team that often cause the East Stirlingshire side trouble. But yeah, they've been dominant in their East Stirlingshire. Had a bit of a ropey start, but they seem to be going from strength to strength, and I think they will dominate in this one. Probably put a few past Cumbernauld, I think.
Edinburgh University versus Gala Fairydean Rovers at East Peffermill. At the moment, it's between Vale Leaving and Edinburgh Uni. I just don't see any of the teams from what I've seen picking up points. I think Gala Fairydean will be looking to bounce back from the Scottish Cup and basically go out and get the 3 points there.
Yeah, Gala haven't had the best of starts this season after generally performing quite well. Edinburgh Uni though struggle to score goals. They've only scored 6 or 7 this season. I think as long as Gala can go there and score goals, even a goal, I think it'll be enough for Gala to pick up the 3 points and put a wee bit of a gap between, like you say, Edinburgh Uni and Vale Leaving, who are looking like they might be sitting closer to the bottom of the league.
Caledonian Braves versus Berwick Rangers at Alliance Park. I'm going to give this to Caledonian Braves. Berwick Rangers do have a game against Spartans. Depending on when this is out, it's Tuesday night, the East of Scotland Cup. We don't really tend to mention that because I think it's like 2 games a season basically. I'm going to say that Caledonian Braves are going to bounce back at home against Berwick Rangers.
They should, but I don't think it's perhaps going to be as close as a lot of people are going to think. I think Berwick, like I said when we reviewed their game, I think they're getting a bit stronger. But yeah, Cali Braves at home. Ross McNeil has his way. They'll be. It could be a convincing win, but approach this one with a bit of caution, I think. Ross
McNeil, Neil McLaughlin or Davy Winters, to be honest.
Yeah, it's true.
Moving on to plugs, I'll let you go first, mate.
So you can find myself on Twitter at SpedandShaun. Pretty much just nonsense that goes on there, to be honest. On Facebook you can find me at Lowland League Catchup, and I try to put some stuff about the league for you guys that are on Facebook. What about yourself?
On Twitter at Rampant FM, and you can get the Catchup at official Catchup on Twitter. Derek took his time off this week, as it's kind of been the case this season. There's not been a lot of episodes. It's been 3 of us, but we appreciate the support as always. We'll be back next week to cover all the Lowland League action. We appreciate the support. We appreciate the support from the players, the gaffers, the clubs, as well as people like George Fraser, the league. We'll see you soon.